wake you all up. I did not know there were this many people left in Winchester on a nice warm day like this. We're pleased to welcome you to the newly air-conditioned room. For the last 8 or 10 months, it has not been air-conditioned. We were able to find a part, I believe, on eBay for our heater cooler in the back here, so it's working. Welcome. This is the regular meeting of the Select Board and Winchester Select Board. It's Monday, August 6th. I'm Lance Grensbeck. I serve as chair. With me this evening on my right is David Arico, Jacqueline Welsh on the other side of the table, Michael Betancourt, and our town manager, Richard Howard. Our fifth select person, Mariana Goluboff, is traveling today and will not be able to attend this meeting. Let me go through very briefly. Our next scheduled meeting will be Monday, August 20th. Later in this meeting, we will attempt to set some dates for the end of August and beginning of September. We'll announce those as soon as we can. Just briefly, some comments. I'm very pleased to announce that the board has reached an agreement with Ms. Lisa Wong, who is a candidate for the town manager's position. We have executed, and she has signed and agreed to an employment agreement. She will begin her formal work here on November 1st. And we will be working with Mr. Howard and the senior staff on a transition plan to make sure that she is up to date and cognizant of all the kind of issues and problems and opportunities facing Winchester. So we're very pleased to welcome her and thank her for sort of sitting through a very long process of interviews and negotiations. Open the table to the board. Any comments? Mrs. Welsh, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I always like to promote Winchester businesses. It's been a beautiful summer, a little bit hot today, but just to remind everybody that we have some wonderful restaurants and great events on Town Common. So don't forget to stay in Winchester for weekend events. Thanks.
Thank you. David?
Nothing right now.
Mike? David?
None here.
Okay. Good. We have a 7:45 hearing on an electric service. Before that, we have a couple items under the manager's report. Richard, would you want to take those up?
So, in the board's packet is an appointment, piece of information within the DPW Water and Sewer Division. Caitlin D'Agostino will be appointed to a vacant position there. We've provided you the background information on Caitlin. She's a new employee. So she'll be coming on board later in the month. No action requested in terms of the waiver of the usual 15-day period, but she'll start on the 21st. So welcome aboard there. And I would just keep the board updated on a few other activities that we have with staff and various study committees. So the local historic district study committee continues to meet and has adopted the recommendations of moving forward with the 3 buildings, including Town Hall, the public library, and a portion of the public safety building on Mount Vernon Street with the idea of formulating Winchester's first historic district. So they will be moving forward with the process, part of which requires a public meeting and information on this proposal. That'll all be done as we clear the summer and people are back kind of from vacations, probably sometime later in September. So I'll keep you posted on that. Brian Kelly, the town planner, continues to do a good job leading that group. We also have been meeting internally regarding potential grant opportunities for the average owner as a result of a substantial settlement that is in place from the Industriplex building and location in Woburn at the upper average owner. So there is a sizable grant set aside for remediation and mitigation measures that could be taken along the average owner watercourse. So we're beginning to talk with those that are responsible both at the state and at the trust level for distributing some of those amounts. So we'll keep the board posted on whether or not we come up with some good ideas that end up being targets. Things like Davidson Park, a few other locations are the kinds of things we're talking about.
Was this the same fund that we accessed for the fish ladder, or?
It was the beginning of that
Beginning of it,
fund,
okay.
but this is
From
the
the
settlement
Grace
amount that
litigation,
ended up,
okay.
being put in place.
Industriplex, I think.
Yeah.
Not the Grace, yeah.
In addition, we continue to do some work in and around studying the reservoirs and the dams that hold the reservoirs in place, and we will probably, as part of the capital planning effort for this fall, come up with some recommendations for the board and for capital planning to move forward some proposed repairs, some studies, and some proposed repairs that would go along with those studies. So we'll keep you posted on all of that activity. In the board's packet as well is a very comprehensive report, speaking of the fish ladder, of the herring migration that occurred during this season, this migration season, from about April till about June. So it's a pretty involved document, and it'll be up on the website, and interested residents will be able to see what has taken place as a result of the fish ladder being put in place and the migration of herring now past the Center Falls Dam and moving up toward Horn Pond and Woburn, and also the upper Aberjona, the river course we were just talking about. So good information, all compiled by volunteers, led in a large part by John Kilbourne, who brought the idea of the fish ladder to us in the first place. So interesting reading for those that are interested in herring and fish and migration of those things. So that's what we have.
Okay, good. Any further questions for the town manager? No? Okay. We have a hearing posted for 7:45, so I'll open that right now. This is a grant of location. Mrs. Duffy? Welcome, Beth. Good evening.
Good evening.
So we'll open, this is a hearing to be granted location at 844 Main Street to install approximately 53 feet plus or minus of conduit and one new pole on Main Street. So Beth, if you'd like to
Sure.
brief us.
Don't have too much more to add. As you mentioned, Eversource has applied for a grant location to install 53 feet of conduit on Main Street, across Main Street, and a new pole located on Main Street near Bellino Park to service that building across the street. Underground conduit to provide underground electrical service to that new construction. We did, engineering and DPW did meet with Eversource prior to this letter being issued to try to use an existing pole out there as opposed to having to put a new pole in, but it was determined by Eversource that wasn't a viable option, so we have to move forward with the new pole. I'm sure
Because
Jackie
it
can
wouldn't support
elaborate
the
on
weight
that.
or to,
Oh, we had a switch on the pole, and we couldn't move it.
okay. All right, so
So we're recommending.
recommending action
Yep.
on it?
Yep.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Just one question, maybe for the town manager. It seems like we've only noticed, 10 or less than 10 residents on this project. What is the,
Standard?
what's our standard for that?
So there's no, often, if it's a ZBA hearing, it's
Yeah.
300 feet from,
there's no legal requirement like that, and we tend to kind of take it on project by project basis.
Yeah, I thought that we had discussed during one of the projects to, set a certain distance as a policy, even though it was not required by law. It often happens, and it's not, this is a small project, I understand, but for the purposes of notice to the neighborhood, we always end up going back through the process. Somebody that lives on the edge of it, which can only, be around the corner, doesn't get noticed, and they hear about it when the construction starts. So I don't know if we should evaluate that
Well-
policy, moving forward.
well, I think I get your point. The construction is
Yep.
well underway.
Yeah.
So, and we've dealt with certain
Yep.
concerns and complaints about the construction going forward. Mr. Weil has been out to the location on several occasions. So this, really wouldn't have anything to do with the status of the construction, which would be kind of overseen by our building department, building commissioner's office, but it's really just getting the permanent hookup. It's not for construction electricity, right?
Yeah.
Jack?
Right.
As I said, I don't mean for
You're
this
talking
project
about- you're
in
talking about
particular.
future.
In the future,
Yeah.
so for other
Oh,
projects
yeah,
that are
sure.
started. So I think that we had talked about this policy that we would start looking at. It's not, for discussion tonight, I know.
Do you mean for grant locations, or you mean for other?
And any sort of project where we're requiring public notice, or we're required by state law to give public notice.
Yeah, so a lot, like I said, a lot of, for ZBA hearings, that type of thing, it's typically 300 feet.
Yeah,
And-
Abutters to abutters.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But the grant location doesn't have a statutory notification.
right, yeah.
Something we could look at.
Yeah,
Go
I
back
think,
and look
I
at
think
some
that
of
we
the-
should.
Yeah, I mean, if
Some-
you
some
want
of
to
the
adopt
major-
a
some
policy,
of
the- Adopt that,
use
yeah.
that.
For major
going
projects,
forward.
It should
We've gone
be at
out.
least consistent with the ZBA's policy.
Sure.
Yeah, for major projects, we've gone out, a quarter mile or so around
Yeah.
the area, so we could look at something that's scaled appropriate for the project.
I mean, a lot of times these are, again, this one maybe is a little bit bigger than what you see, but a lot of times it's like, 8 feet of conduit in the public right of way.
Yeah.
It's it's a very minor impact. This one, like I said, is probably a little
Yeah,
bit
fair
larger
enough. I didn't
impact.
want to, take up too much
Yeah.
time on it, but.
I have
Mrs.
a quick
Welch?
question. That was a really good point, Mike. Thanks for bringing that up. So I have another question. So there's been a lot of talk about, kind of making Main Street look as nice as possible, particularly because of all the great investments over the years by the businesses and how important that corridor, is to Winchester residents and maybe sort of extending the beauty from town center. So a couple things. One, just a point of information. So this would go under the underground conduit would go under the road? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so there's a new pole, like I said, near Bellino Park.
Sure, right. Yeah, this is a great diagram
In
for
right
anybody who
away.
has it.
Yep.
So, but in any event, and the reason why it's underground is because the other poles are on that side? Is that fair to say, as opposed to on the
I'd have to
side
talk to-
of the actual
defer to-
project?
The poles are on that side of the road.
Correct. So that's why the new one would be there also?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you for coming, by the way, with all your expertise. But in any event, so new pole, so since it is going to be underground anyway, sorry to ask the dumb question, but with all due respect to everything and everybody, so many of the poles on Main Street, this particular section, are sort of bent over, et cetera. So maybe that's one of the reasons, to put it in layman's terms, why we need a new utility pole. But I was just kind of curious, if it's going to be then go underground anyway, is it definitely not the case that it could sort of come underground, like almost like on a diagonal from an existing utility pole? Like, I understand you said that it would be overloaded to have it on a pole, but could it sort of like come down from a pole and then go underground?
We
That's
can't-
what we tried to
Yeah, we
have
tried
them
that.
do,
Okay.
yeah.
And we can't use any of the poles that are out there.
But I mean, where's this power going to come from? Like, from one of the adjacent poles anyway?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, my point is, why use a pole at all? Like, could it, I mean, and I'm not an engineer, so I don't mean this in any way, like, to be funny, but, I mean, could it go underground from one of the existing poles if it's going underground anyway?
No, because we have to do a riser up the pole.
Okay, that's just part of the engineering?
Yes.
Okay, so, but I'm thrilled that it's underground, so that's excellent. And will the actual hookup to the project site be underground, like trenched?
Yeah, so
That's
this would be
excellent.
the new pole, and then everything from that pole.
Right,
it
but
will
even
be
to the,
underground.
like, whatever the trunk line is to the site is gonna be underground?
Yes.
To feed into the site. That's great, because one of the things
Yeah.
that we were thinking, we're on the planning board, but maybe we could do more of with the select board, is to sort of encourage, whether it's new or current sites, to think about trenching lines, which obviously is an expense, and I'm not minimizing it whatsoever, but just as sort of first steps to try to, increase the beauty of the area, again, given all the like impressive investment by those businesses to kind of like pay them back, if you will, with some kind of infrastructure beauty. So it seems like there's a give and take here. On the upside, it's gonna be an underground conduit and the hookup will be underground, which is fantastic. On the downside, it's another pole. So I guess my last question is, could there be relief for, how sometimes there's even like paired poles, which I don't even know if that's a desirable situation, but in this corridor of Main Street, could this new utility pole take some of the kind of burden from some of the other ones? I mean, so many of them are literally bent. I'm not saying that there's a issue there, it's whether it's just aesthetic or a potential like important issue. I don't really know. But could this new utility pole, will it just have this one purpose?
So the other ones are leaning, is that what you want us to fix?
No, I'm just asking, because we're installing a brand new utility
Right.
pole, right? So whether or not, you know how in this particular corridor, there's many examples where poles are sort of leaning, and there's also doubled up poles, you know, where you've
Double
got
poles,
two
yeah.
poles, yeah. So since the proposal is to install a brand new pole,
Mm-hmm.
could that brand new pole take some of the burden from some of those others that seem to be leaning?
Oh, I'd have to ask the engineer group, I couldn't.
Okay,
I
could we
couldn't
just
say.
find that out at some point? Because I know there's a lot of interest in town and by many of the boards to do what we can to, with every step, to try to, you know, improve the aesthetics. And obviously, a brand-new utility pole is not an unappealing item, particularly when we've got so many that are bending over. So I'm just kind of curious, because when you're driving up and down that corridor, it's impossible not to notice those poles. And it seems like something that, to the extent that we're gonna try to take, you know, small steps to improve the site of this corridor, since you so kindly came here, if we could ask about that, because it's fantastic that there's gonna be an underlined trenched hookup to the site. I think that's fantastic. And if the owner is paying for some of that, we should praise that owner, because there may be an additional expense, and that's really nice of that owner to do that.
Other questions from the board? David?
None.
So let me close the board's portion of that and ask if this is a formal public hearing on this grant of location. So if there's anybody, any neighbors, abutters, or anyone else who'd like to speak to this issue before we move forward, let me know. Last chance? Last call? Okay. So we'll close the public speaking part. So are there any more comments from the board? Otherwise, I'll take a motion. Mrs. Welch, your intent is to go ahead with this and then ask them to look at the
Yes,
issue
yeah.
more broadly and ask
Exactly,
the engineer and
exactly.
Eversource
Thank
report
you,
back?
yeah.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman, I
Rickford,
move
if you would.
that we approve a grant of location for 844 Main Street to install approximately 53 plus or minus feet of conduit and one new pole, 95/81 and a half on Main Street.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it, 4-0. Thank you very much.
And
Thank you. And we
Jackie,
look forward to hearing back.
could
right?
you carry back the message of urgency for, Beth may have mentioned to you, the job that we are trying to get done at Skilling's Field? There's some design and engineering that,
At Skilling's?
yeah,
Okay,
I think there might
it's
be
kind of in the system.
okay.
Okay, good. If the board permits, as a courtesy to Mr. Belts, who is eyeing the train, last train into Boston tonight, Philip, I'd like to take business item number 1. I believe it's a very short recommendation for the board, so to deal with Senior Citizen Committee Work Program Guidelines, updating this. Philip, welcome. Can you still run fast enough to make the train if we do this?
Thank you very much. It's a program that's been in existence for several decades, and it offers seniors the ability to have a tax reduction. It was raised last year to $1,250, and the Council on Aging engages a financial counselor who reviews guidelines and makes recommendations. And his recommendation, this is after speaking to Assessor Dan McGurl, is to increase the adjusted gross income by $1,000 to $59,000 for a couple, to $89,000, and the property valuation, which is what usually excludes people from participating in the program, I'm raising it to $1,025,000.
$1,025,000.
Correct.
Okay. So this has been discussed with the assessor's office?
Yes.
Correct, and also with Richard and the
Philip and-
controller and the,
Stacy Ward, Sheila
That is-
Tracy, and Philip and I met last week.
All right,
We
good.
recommend it.
So we have a maximum of 40 people who can participate in this program each year, and there were 27 last year,
Right.
so we're not exceeding our,
no, we're not.
Right.
so that doesn't need to be changed. Questions from the board?
Seems like a great program.
It is, it's actually, it's an opportunity for seniors to
Yep.
get out and work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for Working on it.
Okay. So, Mike, if you'd want to put a motion on the table that we accept the recommendations?
Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendation of Philip Belts, Director of Council on Aging, in conjunction with Dan McGurl and Sheila Tracy and other members of our staff to increase the availability for seniors by adjusting the allowable gross income as well as the assessed property value.
And as documented on his memo.
Is recommended
As recommended.
by the director.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded. All in further discussion? No? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes, ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
If you don't make it to the train station, you can come back.
I still put the next one.
May I just have a quick show of hands, how many people are here for matters from the audience on some other issue? And how many, okay, how many people are here for the cultural district issue? Okay, yeah, even numbers. Would those of you who are here for matters of the audience mind if we do the cultural district, which I think is going to be a very brief discussion? And then it will leave the rest of the evening open for all of the rest of it. So, Mary, or would you like to, or Joyce, I'm not sure who drew the short straw, but if you'd like to come forward, and this is a follow-up to an earlier discussion.
Yes, it is.
we had with the board.
Do you want to,
Okay. Right here?
you guys can each have a microphone if you want.
Oh, that would be good. Here you go, Joyce. Okay, we'll be quick.
You'd introduce yourselves and.
Yes, yes. I'm Mary McKenna from the Winchester Cultural District Visioning Partnership, and Joyce is also on the partnership, Joyce Westner. And I'm also Arthur Griffin Foundation trustee, who has been supporting this effort, and Precinct 3 town member. Say your other hats, or? No, okay.
You
All
have a
right.
lot of hats.
She has a lot of hats in town. So I'm back this evening with, in the background, we have several of the core visioning team here and the newly formed managing partnership. And we're here tonight to ask you to sign the Mass Cultural Council's resolution to move forward with the next step to establish the cultural district. And this is all through the guidelines of the Mass Cultural Council, which we've been following very, very strictly and closely. Following your fantastic vote last April, where you unanimously approved the establishment of the managing partnership, we invited as many of the cultural community groups in town to consider joining the membership. We held an information evening at the library where we had, I would say, 30-plus people come, and we now have our list of members who are on the board. So from this step, we went on to host a public meeting. That was the next step. We did it again at the library, and that was to introduce the idea of the cultural district and take comments from the community. So with all of these pieces in place, we're back to you to ask you to sign the Mass Cultural Council's resolution, which is their resolution, and we just added our name and the number of people on the managing board. And that will allow us to apply and complete the application, and then invite the Mass Cultural Council out to walk the district and the borders of the district and see if they agree with what we're proposing. And that's it. So if you have any questions or you'd like to see the video again to refresh your memory, it's up to you.
I would just like to note that you guys have worked so hard on this, and it's very impressive, and all that you guys have already accomplished. The maps are really helpful. That video was fantastic that you guys put together. This I don't think I had seen before, so could you just touch on this? Okay.
Yes, that is one of the architectural firms that was part of the charrette that we did on the Waterfield site.
Okay.
Put together a very nice presentation, and that was one of their images for the train station. And it's very futuristic, but we just thought it was
Right,
fun.
yeah.
And the lighting was
Like it
really
has a
pretty.
whole ring over here.
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
So
I
it's
see.
not, we're not going to build it. It's just there to give some
Vision.
vision and interest to what might happen in the town outside of the ordinary.
That's great. So if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I would just like to ask, just kind of like really quickly, so what's the next step for you guys? It sounded like there was like such a phenomenally organized kind of plan that you laid out last spring. And so assuming that the board signs a resolution, just can't help but ask, what would be next?
Well, next is the Mass Cultural Council, so they finally get to come out. The order is a
Oh, that's
little
when they do the
strange. I
walk
mean,
around?
it seems
Yeah.
like they should have come out before we went through this whole process, but so be it. So once we get through that, and I'm hoping it goes fairly quickly, and Brian's going to help us with that.
Good, yeah.
And then maybe you folks could join us for the walk, and when we do it, we'll schedule it so that it's
That'd be
convenient for
great.
everyone.
Yeah.
And if they endorse it, then they say you're officially a cultural district, and we can start planning. And we already have some discussions underway with Paula at the Griffin Museum. I'll give you a quick example, because I know we don't have a lot of time, but our first project might be to bring the fence to town, which is a major national program, where in the spring, photographers get an amateur length of fence. It's not a real fence, it's like a border, and would use the viaduct and, present the photography. Yes, but it's a pretty neat thing, so we'll keep you posted on that. That's it, I don't want to keep you.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I also wanted to take the opportunity to applaud you all for encouraging and being such wonderful mentors to those fantastic students who are your interns.
We have the best art students.
But it's
and-
also wonderful that you guys had the vision to create that opportunity
Yeah.
for them too, so that was really impressive.
Thank you, and it was a great joy to work with them. We continue, we have 2 new students coming on in the fall, and 2 of the former students will be with us, so this is a revolving program, and it's reaching down into the lower grades too. The interns at the high school level are going to start to mentor the kids at the lower level and bring them into the program, so
Hopefully that'll
it's
encourage,
growing.
yeah, other
It's
groups
growing.
to do that also.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
It's great, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I guess for those of you who are sort of wondering what a cultural district is, it is
Excellent.
it is not a zoning or regulatory district. It basically one just draws a line around the center of the town, declares it a cultural district. If you were in the advertising business, you'd call it a branding and marketing tool to bring people together. And I think I'm going to credit Mary and others, were 8 or 10 years ago, when we were looking at what we could do with the town center, said there must be a way to draw people into Winchester, to entice them to come in. One thing we talked extensively about was leveraging the schools and sort of continuing professional adult education programs to bring people into the center. The other thing we said was cultural activities, Arts in August, concerts, shows, anything like that, both to make it more interesting for those of us who are residents here, but also to entice people to come down and put foot traffic on the street to shop in the shops and the restaurants. No, come to the show at the Griffin, come to the show at this, get an extra meal ticket, go 20% off at one of the restaurants. So this is an opportunity. I believe that the town's entire commitment to this will be some hundreds of dollars to put up 3 signs saying Winchester Cultural District.
Yes.
I saw them in a few towns driving
Yep.
around this weekend. So I think it's very effective and sort of leverage a lot of the work that the Cultural Council and others have been doing very well.
Can I just
So-
ask one other quick question? We have so many other resources in town that aren't in town center. Is some of the visioning to sort of like invite, say, Winchester School of Music, community music school performances on town green? or like, or-
Absolutely,
or-
yeah. We have, they are on the managing partnership, and what we have done is we're using the downtown center as the core, but like the farm and the Sanborn House and the music school and Kidstock, we call them satellite points. So if anything's happening in the town, we will get a piece of it up in those locations so that it starts to be a circular thing.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic.
No further
Okay.
questions from the board?
I
No.
did have a question for Mary, which I asked our legal counsel too as well, Mary.
Yeah, I was wondering, okay.
Yeah, do you know of a document that would guide the partnership? I noticed you referenced Arlington's experience in here, but I didn't know whether or not there's any documentation that the partnership kind of agrees to and formulates its activities
I'm
around.
going to let Joyce, yeah.
Yes, after the Massachusetts Cultural Council comes through and does their walkthrough and approves it, then there is a partnership agreement, and I have one right here that's, an Arlington version of that, and it pretty much just says, we'll make sure there are cultural things going on, and we'll meet at a certain number of times a year.
It's at least enough of a document, Joyce, that everybody knows they're part of a partnership.
Yes, it's 3 pages, and most of the pages are signatures.
Right. And the other thing is we plan, there's a core group that will sort of, keep things going. That will meet monthly, and then the full partnership will probably meet quarterly, not to overburden all the groups, because everybody is so overcommitted, so, yeah.
Great.
Further comments, questions?
I'll just say, thank you very much for hitting the ground running with this. It's such a great project, and I know by the list of community stakeholders that you have involved with this, that it's gonna be a great success. And for those members of the Cultural Council that are here too, I was at the Arts in August event on Thursday, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. It was fantastic, great turnout, and it just shows that the effort of these groups and stakeholders is such an asset and so such a vital part of our community. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
We're excited.
So I think we need a motion to adopt and sign the resolution.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, the motion would be for the board to adopt the resolution for the resolution for the Winchester Cultural Council.
District.
Cultural District, excuse me. Do you want me to go through it further, or is that sufficient?
Sufficient, I think. Do I have a
Second.
Seconded. Okay. Further discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Good, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
So,
Mary
did you
will
want
get you
us
a
to
signature on that.
sign this?
Yes, please.
I don't know.
Yes, yeah, thank you. And do you need a copy of what Joyce has in Arlington? Would you like a copy of that document?
Whenever
No?
you get a chance.
Okay,
I can email it to somebody.
That's-
thank you. Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Cultural district managing partnership is gonna leave the room Look at Mark, who did such a great video.
Maybe we should have a round of applause
You're
for them.
welcome to stay for any details. Okay. Matters from the audience. There are enough people here. Can't just be the air conditioning we offer. Is there anyone who'd like
This
to
letter here,
address the board? Matters from the audience, we'll take,
AG's office.
sort of take notice of any concerns you want us to know. Because it's not, if your issue is not part of the agenda tonight, we can't resolve or vote on it, but we can certainly listen to what people are discussing. So you're nodding as though you've been volunteered. Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, if you'd introduce yourselves and.
Yes, my name is John Bonapani. I live in Melrose.
My name is Joe Sincotta, also in Melrose.
Billy Kirk, 24-year resident of Winchester.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for giving us the time tonight. I understand we weren't on the agenda, but this is something that's important, and I think we have to talk about it. I represent about 400 people that were locked out by National Grid. There's about 1,200 employees locked out. I represent about 400 of those 1,200. Many of them cover the Winchester area. Some of them are here tonight. They cover the gas service in Winchester. We didn't choose to be locked out. To kind of give you a little background on what happened, our contract expired on June 25th. At that time, the company said they were locking us out. We offered to extend the collective bargaining agreement that was in place at the time, which did contain a no-strike clause, which would have meant that we would not have been able to walk away from our jobs. The company flat out refused, locked us out, literally locked the doors on us. The following bargaining session on July 5th, we offered again to extend the collective bargaining agreement. The company refused, wouldn't do that. We thought it was important to continue to keep our people working, providing safe gas service, while the union and the company continued to bargain. The company wanted to pressure their employees into taking the offer and decided to take the, we think, totally and completely unnecessary step of literally, again, locking the doors and not letting us provide the gas service. This isn't about supporting the union or supporting the company. We're not here to ask for support, even though we would appreciate it. If you did give that support, we would really appreciate it, but that's not what this is about. This is about public safety and the safety of the residents of Winchester that I can speak personally about. I've been employed at National Grid and the previous companies, Boston Gas, Keyspan, for over 30 years. I've had many calls in Winchester over the years, and I was outside in the hallway before the meeting just trying to remember some of the more severe calls that I've had. And they go from anywhere from I had a leak at the actual fire station with explosive levels of gas getting in from outside, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I had a leak this past winter, again, with explosive levels of gas inside at the old newspaper building in the center. One of the worst leaks I've ever responded to was down in the flats, and it was in 1995. I remember it was the same month I bought my house, and there was a bad rainstorm. The water filled up the electric ducts, which kind of constricts all the space. So if there's a gas leak underground, when that space constricts, the gas has to find a way to go in a smaller area. And it filled up a house. It was, I think, 50% gas reading in the basement when I got there, which is 10 times the explosive level for gas. That was one of the worst leaks I've ever responded to in the flats. A couple of years ago, I had a call in the library, and this is kind of a lighter note. The fire department was there. It was on a Saturday. There was a bunch of kids in there. There was people outside when I arrived, and it was a CO call, a carbon monoxide call. They weren't sure what it was, but it was a really bad smell in the building. And it turned out one of the kids, I found the stink bomb. It was behind one of the books on the shelves. So that kind of gives you an idea of the things we do. We respond to all types of calls. I've been over by the Aberjona many times when that's flooded over, trying to get service over there. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about the gas system, including other, excuse me, people who are here with me tonight. That's what we do, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. We provide safe service. So we know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing. I'm here to talk about implementing a moratorium. I'm sure you've heard about it. Many towns have already done some type of moratorium on new and replacement gas projects. Official resolutions in Medford, Braintree, Arlington, Haverhill, Lowell, Somerville, Cambridge, Revere, and Weymouth. Many towns have done informal moratoriums, including the city of Boston, and some are actively working towards doing an official resolution, as some of the towns I mentioned previously. The company will say that they have us completely replaced. Their contingency plan, I think, provided for 600 to 800 management people, mixed with contractors. Many of those people are inexperienced, don't have nearly the same ability that our people have. Many of the supervisors that supervise us, who they're putting out in the field now, that they claim can replace us, many of them have never had the jobs we've had. It's kind of a phenomenon in the gas world. People don't come up through the ranks like they used to, like when I started. You'd start at the bottom and work your way up. Literally, you'd start at the bottom and maybe become a vice president. That's very, very rare now. Not many people go into management. There's a number of reasons why, but it just doesn't happen. So they don't come with the same background that we currently have. Some of the people were literally plucked out of an office, sent for a quick training course, given a test, and put out on a crew. And that's not unusual. That's what's going on right now. We have filed over 30 complaints with the Department of Public Utilities, which they said they're investigating. We've met with the Attorney General's office. And these complaints are all all issues that revolve around safety and public safety and not what we think are people not doing what we would be doing if we were out in the field. And I do have evidence with videos and pictures. I can send it to you if you want. We are starting to get it together now to the point where we're sending it out to people. Last week, we attended the National Grid shareholders meeting in London, and we told the CEO and the chairman of the board that we wanted to send them the videos because they didn't seem to think that it was a problem, that what was going on back here. So that's what we're doing. We put a package together to send it out, and we can do that if you'd like to see them. When you have a project in the town, what usually happens when we're all working, you'll have a contractor putting in the new gas lines. You're probably familiar with the term GSEP, Gas System Enhancement Plan. So the company has a 25-year plan to replace all the leak-prone pipe in the system. Most of that's done by contractors. A percentage of it is done by us, but most of it is done by outside contractors. Those contractors are overseen by company personnel. They're either union people like us or management people. So right now, obviously the union people are locked out. They're not capable of doing that work, and the management people they're using on crews to fill in for what we do day to day to respond to emergencies and whatnot. We don't believe that if the company does start these projects, and many towns they haven't done it yet, we don't believe they're going to have the proper oversight. The inspectors, the people who oversee these contractors, their responsibility is to monitor and inspect. They're really police people. They watch what's going on, and I think everybody understands, what happens when you don't have somebody out there watching what's going on. I don't have to explain it to you. We think it'd be a real mistake to allow the company to do those projects. And a lot of times, you may not see a problem right away. When they put a new gas line in, the problem may not happen for 10, 20 years. You're not going to see it. And that's a real concern for us. Another major concern with these projects, and the most critical part of a project like that, is when they introduce the gas back to a house or a building, or reintroduce it. That's the most safety-sensitive part of that type project. And we do that work. That's our work exclusively. We know what we're doing. Again, it's not something we take lightly. We're very well trained and qualified to do it, and we just don't think that National Grid should be allowed to do that type of work when we're not doing it. We think it's a mistake. We understand that, there's emergencies, they have to respond to emergencies, but anything that doesn't have to be done, we believe shouldn't be done. Again, we didn't choose to be out here. We offered to work while we continued to bargain, and the company has refused to let us do that twice. So I don't know if you have anything else to add?
I do, yeah. I've only been in Winchester 24 years. I've worked for the gas company so far 29. The majority of that time's been in maintaining the system, finding leaks, repairing leaks. The last 5 years, I've been a contract inspector overseeing the contractor's work. During the last 2 years, I would say they've watered down their field personnel from qualified people, 2 or 3 on a job, down to 1 on a job. Everyone else, that means one guy's qualified to do the job, start to finish. Everyone else is there to hand tools. With this going on, the lockout now, with management people taking over and doing these after a crash course, between just company violations that I see on job sites, not to mention DPU violations and OSHA violations. It's only a matter of time before someone's going to get hurt. And I wouldn't want to see it happen here.
And just to give you an example, that big gas leak over in Longwood, the hospital, they evacuated the hospital.
Yeah.
So it's my understanding that that wasn't a gas project. I don't know if they're putting in a water line or a sewer line. But
There was no inspector.
it was my understanding, before the lockout, there had been 3 different inspectors visiting that job. And what they do when it's not a gas project, they'll assign somebody to the project, stay in touch with the excavators, whether it's sewer or water, remind them where the gas lines are, mark the lines, give them as much information as they can, periodically come out to the job. Sometimes they have to physically be there, depending on how close to the gas lines they are. But it's my understanding that no one's been there since the lockout. And before the lockout, there was 3 different inspectors repeatedly visiting the sites. Excavator hit, I think it was a medium pressure service gas line to the hospital. I think if you saw on the news, the helicopter, there was people actually out on the sidewalk on gurneys. So that's an example of what we're talking about. If you have any questions, again, if you want to meet at some point, we can give you more information. I can send you anything you think you might need, but we really think you should consider enacting some type of moratorium on the gas projects in the town.
Thank you. Let me just, I know we've been watching, tracking the issue very closely. I think Mike Betancourt attended a meeting that our state representative Mike Day organized. I know Richard and staff sat down with some of the management people to listen to their issues, and I think, Richard, we'd extended an invitation to meet with at the staff meet with the union representatives to talk through some of the technical risks and what sort of a moratorium, if we do it, partial, whatever, would do that. So I would, I'll let
Yeah,
Richard speak to
just-
that, but I think we'd be, it's not on the agenda tonight, we can't take any formal action, but I think we'd certainly be willing to listen to both sides to talk through and assess what's going on, because I think safety is obviously critical, not only to our residents, but to the people who are working on it, so. Richard, comment on?
Yeah, just today I talked to Jay Gill, the DPW director, and Beth Rudolph, our engineer. Now, I know just prior to my going on vacation, I got a call from Joe. I have his name on my desk.
That was me, yep.
Okay. So Jay Gill.
He
if you haven't
contacted me tonight around 6:30.
Terrific. So we
Yeah.
talked about maybe meeting on Thursday, if you have the time to be able to do that, Joe, and.
Thursday, I think we're actually
We didn't
bargaining
have a
with the
day.
company. yeah.
We didn't have a day. I informed him that, we were coming here tonight to speak, but
So
we do look forward to,
whenever, at your convenience, you want to put together either a team or just come in and meet with Jay and Beth and kind of roll out the same level of information that you're talking to the board here tonight about, we're happy to do that. And then make a report back to the board so that they can consider whatever action they would want to take.
absolutely.
We can do that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think one of the things I'd be interested to see is maybe some of the arrangements from other towns.
Sure.
I mean,
Got some right here for you if you want.
Yeah, we
Bullet
brought,
points as to what they did, the extent of it.
so, like I said, some of them are more official than others, and they've all kind of done it a little differently, but can we leave these?
Yeah,
We can send copies to,
I can give you these for now. We'll also send copies. There's probably,
distribute copies when you have a chance.
Did you give them this one?
Thank you, Penny.
You want those back?
Oh,
We can
wait a
make
second.
copies.
No, we have plenty of
No.
copies, you can keep them. Thank you,
Thank you, Patty.
thank you.
they're all very similar, actually.
Resolutions and.
Yeah, very similar.
Somerville did a
Cambridge,
directive.
Arlington, Somerville did a directive, states the same.
And so
But-
they basically say no new projects until this issue's resolved?
Basically, so the people that are
Emergency work only?
doing the work, overseeing the work, are doing that, are back doing that work.
Some of them I think are a little more restrictive.
There are a range of resolutions.
Yeah, and some of them provide for
Yeah.
more, what's the word I'm looking for?
We'll get you everything we
Oversight
got.
before- Yeah, before
We'll get you
something.
everything we got.
I think we have somewhere an inventory of gas leaks in the town.
Yeah,
And I think what Jay and our town engineer, Beth Ruoff, would like to do would be go through the list and decide which ones, you know, I presume some of them can be put off for a while, but there's others that you may think are critical.
Well,
and should be,
you know-
I don't know whether they count for emergency, but they're.
Well, that's just it. We're not saying, I mean, of course, any emergency that's an emergency. That,
Well, I don't know the details of each one, but that's something that Jay and Beth could go over with you and decide how.
we can do that.
How restrictive or not.
Right. And just for your own information, a grade 1 leak is the most severe. That's something that has to be addressed immediately.
We don't have to.
Yeah, no, they do happen. The most recent one I had was over on Cambridge Street over the winter. But they do happen, and they have to be taken care of right away.
I believe you had one here last night on Church Street.
Oh, okay.
So, Thursday, and you and
Well,
Richard.
whenever
Jay,
Joe-
It won't be Thursday. We have bargaining Thursday, but I will
Hopefully something
absolutely,
good comes out of that.
I will absolutely
Okay, so
get in touch with them and
we'll be happy to have you follow up and do that.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, guys. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here for matters from the audience, or are you just observing us? Vincent, do you have any? Vince, do you have nothing? Okay.
Thank you.
You're not required to say anything, just asking, I didn't want to miss
I think I'm on the
anybody.
agenda potentially. I think I'm on the agenda. It's about a event to the town common, maybe.
Yes, okay, use of the town common?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good, okay. So if that's, yes, why don't we take that up now?
Okay.
This is a consent agenda item for the use of the town common fundraiser? Okay,
Oh, the yoga?
Yep, you got it.
okay, good, thank you for sitting through.
Sure, yeah, no, absolutely.
You're asking for a permit to use the town common?
Yes, for just one morning on Sunday, September 16th. Be at 9:30 a.m., be a 75-minute yoga class. The event will be a fundraiser for the organization Good Sports, which is a nonprofit, really great organization, Massachusetts-based, and it offers athletic apparel and equipment to youth who don't have the financial ability to get those things so that they can participate in sports. And it would be suggested donations to that organization. And the event would be topped by my wife, who is a local yoga instructor in town and surrounding towns as well.
Where is she? What is her business?
So she doesn't have a business. She's just like, she teaches at Bright Lock Farm,
okay,
Winchester
nice.
Country Club, Arlington,
Who's your wife?
Lexington. Brittany Burgess.
Oh, okay.
Yoga class tomorrow night if you're interested at the
Okay,
Bright Lock Farm.
excellent. Oh, good. Seems like a great idea on Town Common.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun and
Yeah.
hopefully we can get a lot of people out.
Just a question,
Yeah,
any questions that come?
The recommendation typically, if it were business or limited liability corporation, something like that, would be to get
Thank you
the
so much. That was really
certificate of
nice you.
insurance
Thank you.
from the business insurer to say that the town was covered, but I think we talked a little bit with Alex about trying to get indemnity waivers signed by
Yeah,
whoever
we
is
can
going to
do waivers.
participate that
Yep,
day. So
that's fine.
that's our next best solution for those that participate. We don't want them pulling a muscle on the common and
Right, yeah, totally understandable.
blaming the towns.
Yeah, so whatever's best for you, I mean, I'm happy
So
to.
we'll get that paperwork in order.
That paperwork and then.
But otherwise, all the other departments have said that they can support the idea. It's the
What date are you
third-
proposing?
So the date would be Sunday, September 16th.
Okay.
I did want to ask about, though, if it would be, I didn't include this, and I apologize, but somebody brought up that we might want to do a rain date. Is it possible to do a rain date for the following week?
Good
Just the
idea.
next Sunday?
Yeah.
Yes, as long as we don't have anything else
Sure.
on top of yours. Okay. So we'll check the paperwork on the indemnity.
Yeah, yep,
Provide that.
yep. I think I already received it from Patty, yeah, so.
The samples already go
Right, I know Patty was in touch. Good.
Perfect.
So as soon as that's completed, we can take it up and issue the permit, correct?
Yep, well, you can approve it subject to our,
Subject to your approval? Okay.
yeah, subject to our getting the appropriate documentation in place.
Okay.
Okay.
Questions from the board? Mike, Jackie?
It's a great idea. It's a fantastic idea, plus it's wonderful that you're going to donate the proceeds. It's
Yep,
amazing.
all of them, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
Great cause.
Yeah. Thank you for all that effort.
Sure, yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Any comments?
No,
Questions?
great effort.
Okay, great. So Patty, I'll follow up with you about anything I need to do next.
We'll take a motion to.
Can I just ask one question? Are you going to how are you going to market the event or advertise it? Or?
A couple ways. One would be just on Facebook. Two would be my wife would probably drop some flyers in at the places that she teaches at.
Oh, that's good.
And then I was thinking of some flyers at Starbucks or wherever else I can get them up downtown.
And
I
all of
wonder
our
if they'll do
viewership
it.
as well should
Yeah.
pretty big.
Yeah,
Watching stuff.
true. Maybe they'll do a public service announcement in the paper.
That's a good idea.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You could talk to the Star folks right here.
Let's go on the community calendar.
Or even a letter to the editor, something like
Okay.
that, maybe. I don't know what the paper's policies are, but you may want to ask.
Yeah, I'll ask. Good idea. I like it.
Could you say, could it come on? Community? Yeah, could be.
Some nonprofit fundraiser, we can put it on our webpage notice.
That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you.
Call back and have Jen Caprella, who's our webpage guru, set that up. I think she's on vacation until next week.
Patty will.
Patty can arrange that. Okay. So.
Keep volunteering, you, Patty.
Questions? Yeah, she's does everything.
Actually, you can talk to him about
They can do that, yeah. Okay, so a motion for conditional.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve a conditional license for the use of the town common for a yoga fundraiser on Sunday, September 16th, with a rain date of Sunday, September 23rd, subject to the providing of appropriate information to the town manager and insurance indemnity information.
Do you need to have the time? Should it be that specific?
9:30 a.m.
Okay.
9:30 a.m.
So to be start at 9:30 and to conclude about.
11-ish.
For 75
Say 11, yeah.
Okay,
Then everybody can go to brunch.
right.
In
That's
the
right.
wonderful restaurants in town center.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get people, so I'm actually on a young professionals board, and there's a lot of people that live in
great.
Boston that are on the board, so we'll bring people in from Boston. to see the
Excellent,
town,
excellent, excellent.
Get some food, to your point,
Good,
so, yeah.
excellent, thank you.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, any further questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, well,
Thank
if you're
you
not busy
again.
that day, come on down, let us
Give
know.
our best to your wife.
Will do, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We have now one day alcoholic beverage license. Thank you very much.
Where is he? Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve a one-day alcohol and beverage license to Archie McIntyre for Right Log Farm Conservancy on August 25th, 2018 for the 1827 barn.
All in favor, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. And we have meeting minutes for a number of days. I don't believe all of them are ready to
Do
go.
we want to wait for,
Yeah,
Mariano?
We could make Mariano.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
No, that's right. Are you,
Patty, if you want to correct me, I think what she's placed on the table for you are the edits that she's received to date. So if others have edits they would like to make, or objections to the edits that have been made, why don't you get them to Patty?
Yeah, I think with all due respect, we should just give a couple second thought to how to organize this better. Patty seems to be such a hard worker. Thank you, Patty, for everything. And I think we've given her sort of like this Rubik's Cube. So if you don't mind my saying, so, I mean, it seems like maybe one idea, these are obviously important, and maybe some dates won't take as long as others, so we could kind of go backwards with those, and then if there's like 2 or 3 dates that are taking longer, we may have to end up going line to line, because some of us, having now just seen some edits of other folks, whether they've viewed WinCam or not, or whatever, and with all due respect, I'm sure some people might sort of want to kind of look at how, if a member, can I just finish my sentence, please? If one member has added a comment about another member, yeah, something like that. So it just seems like we'll have to take a little time.
Suggest to you that if you have any edits that you'd like to make to these, or any additional edits you'd like to make, please submit them. One of the reasons we're keeping them separate at this point was to ensure that we aren't overwriting comments. So you're perfectly welcome to edit in or edit out anything you think is appropriate or inappropriate. So
Okay, that sounds like
that's
a
it.
lovely idea, but that's not possible, is what I'm suggesting. Okay, because we have red line comments, if you just listen to what I'm saying, and Patty's done a fantastic job of printing these out. But now, some people may have comments on other people's red lines. So in other words, it's not,
I don't believe that's been the case.
well, I can
don't
say it
believe
is.
Anyone else has seen anyone else's red line comment.
Excuse me, with all due respect, we have them on the table today, so for example, I can see some for the first
If
time.
you would like to change any of the red lines, please note it. And we will take that up when we look at all the comments from all of the members. I don't know if you have objections to what's in there, put them on paper and we'll take it out.
All I'm suggesting is that we just have this be a little organized and have some clarity. So we can certainly write them in hand, and all I'm saying is that we may need to literally talk about line to line, is all I'm saying.
That's perfectly acceptable. We will do that on the 20th when we take up the level ones where we have everybody's comments. I have no objection to going through them line by line or
Yeah,
paragraph by paragraph.
unfortunately, yeah.
And again, if you see anything in the materials that are there that you object to, note it.
Anyway, I wanted to praise Patty because she's been incredibly thoughtful and kind to let us respectively have our red line. So, but now what we have is multiple copies of red line, and it's just, it's inescapable that we're gonna have to like integrate them somehow, so.
We will do that, but we did not want to overwrite one set of comments.
Exactly.
So you have comments that have not been, they're individual submissions. I would recommend that you look through them. If you have any additions or deletions that you recommend to those comments, let us know. Bring those to the meeting and we'll look at them.
Right, my point simply being that we can't redline over redline. We're sort of saying the same thing with all due respect, so we'll just do it by hand and we'll take it up
I
next.
lost track of your concern on this. We're gonna review
That's
them.
unfortunate, I thought I was being pretty clear, but anyway, I think we can move on.
We have comments in, we're gonna review them. If anybody has objections to them, let me know, and we'll resolve them at the table. To leave them in, take them out, or change them.
Yeah, okay. And also, just for the record, it's not necessarily objections, it's just sort of,
Whatever word you choose, if you have edits you'd like to make, to
Yeah.
improvements, adjustments, clarifications.
Whatever,
The floor
I-
is open, that's the purpose of having the minutes reviewed. So we will not take up the correction of the minutes this evening. It sounds like we're not prepared to do that. I don't believe there's anything else on the agenda unless people have other items. We have a fairly long list of things to take up on the 20th. I guess the question then for the board, we need to begin to set and post dates for the following week or weeks into September. If you have the calendars, you could tell me what day. We have a set of Mondays, including Labor Day, which I think we probably want to skip over. But if you have days that you know you cannot make in September, please let me know.
and just for the record, we're not meeting on August 27th, is that correct?
We could if that's.
I'm not available then, but there may be a quorum, that's why I'm asking.
As of right now, you're not scheduled for
I'll
that.
plan to do it if necessary, which is
And
not available.
You'll likely, next Monday night would be the 10th, assuming you want to skip over the week of Labor Day, which is the 3rd, so could be the 10th and the 24th, could be a September
In
dates.
September,
Yep, depending upon how things work out for everybody.
So, would this be a good time to just simply ask, is a board sponsoring town meeting warrant articles? And if so, should we sort of factor that in and possibly
you
have
should
3
have-
dates, a tentative 3 dates in September?
September?
Yeah,
Wouldn't be a bad idea, but I'd leave
because we
that.
can always take one off.
Could do
That would
10,
pro-
could do 10,
That would probably be all the other Mondays in September.
10, 17,
Yeah.
and 24. If you,
So I believe the 10th is also Rosh Hashanah. 10, but, so we could book tentative dates, quite a few nights and then check and see people's calendars and look at that.
and to do your work on articles and, you know, your review,
Friday
your,
session.
you could do a Friday morning session, that's typically.
How many are there, do you know, of that this
Right
board's-
now, there are none.
That's why it's been
Everything's
so
perfect,
quiet.
That's why.
Yeah, exactly. We have one that we know will advance,
Oh, that's gotta be a record of,
but they'll flourish.
oh, okay.
So we have 10, 17, and 24 on the table. Is anybody available or not available on any of those dates? Going once, going twice, we'll post them all and see how.
Yeah,
how we get.
blend in your activity.
We can always move them or retire them,
Yep.
I won't be here on the 20th, our next meeting, but I will call it.
so they won't be here on
Our next meeting, the 20th
Okay.
of August. So I'll call in.
Further business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, WinCam.
Don't go back.